My mom thought she could replace my father with her manipulative new boyfriend and force me to accept him as family, but she didn't realize I still had contact with my actual dad. I was 21 when my mother started dating Vincent Ashford. Dad had been convicted of embezzling $3.2 million 6 months earlier. Before I tell you everything, comment where are you watching from? Because what I'm about to tell you will show you exactly how con artists destroy innocent families and how I took one down using nothing but spreadsheets and determination. It started on a Tuesday morning in January. I was home from college for winter break, sleeping in my childhood bedroom, when the pounding started. Not knocking. Pounding. The kind that makes your heart jump before you're even fully awake. I heard my mother's voice, high and panicked, then my father's, calm but strained in that way that meant something was very, very wrong. I threw on a robe and ran downstairs. The living room was full of people. Men in dark suits with badges clipped to their belts. FBI. The word hit me before I even processed what I was seeing. Federal agents were boxing up my father's home office, carrying out computers and file folders and hard drives like they were looting the place. My father stood in the center of it all in his pajamas, hands behind his back. Not because he was hiding anything, because they were handcuffed. The lead agent was a tall woman with sharp eyes and a voice that cut through the chaos like a knife. James Harrison, you're under arrest for wire fraud, embezzlement of corporate funds, and money laundering. Total damages exceed $3 million. She didn't even look at him when she said it. Just read from a paper like she was ordering coffee. Dad's face had gone completely white. This is insane, he said, and his voice shook in a way I'd never heard before. Someone hacked my system. I would never steal from my own employees. These people depend on me. Save it for your lawyer, another agent said, guiding him toward the door. My mother was crying, clutching at the kitchen counter like it was the only thing holding her up. James, just cooperate. Tell them where the money is. Please. Maybe they'll go easier on you if you just. I don't know where the money is because I didn't take it. Dad's voice rose, desperation creeping in. He looked at me then, standing frozen on the stairs. Our eyes met. He stopped struggling against the agents. When he spoke again, his voice was quiet, controlled. Sweetheart, I need you to remember something. The truth is always in the details. Always. I didn't understand what he meant. Not then. But I would. They let him out into the January cold without even letting him put on shoes. I watched through the window as they put him in the back of a black SUV, his head ducking instinctively, even though he'd never been arrested before. Had no idea how this worked. Mom was on the phone already, frantic, trying to reach a lawyer, a friend, anyone who could explain how our lives had just imploded before breakfast. I stood there in my robe, staring at the empty driveway, and felt the world tilt sideways. My father, the man who'd taught me to ride a bike, who'd helped me with calculus homework, who'd never even gotten a speeding ticket, was being accused of stealing millions of dollars. It didn't make sense. The prosecution had digital forensics that seemed airtight. Emails sent from Dad's work computer detailing transfers to offshore accounts. Bank records showing the movement of funds with his access codes. Testimony from his executive assistant that he'd been acting secretive for months, staying late at the office, deleting files. They had everything except a confession. Dad maintained his innocence through 6 weeks of trial. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. When the forewoman stood to read the verdict, her voice was steady, certain, guilty on all counts. The sentencing came 2 weeks later, 12 years in federal prison. As they led Dad away in handcuffs again, this time in an orange jumpsuit that made him look like a stranger, he mouthed something to me. The courtroom was loud, reporters shouting questions, Mom sobbing, people moving and talking. But I saw his lips move, clearly, deliberately. 2 words. Vincent Ashford. At the time, I had no idea who that was. Had never heard the name before. But I filed it away because Dad didn't waste words, especially not his last ones before disappearing behind prison walls. 2 weeks later, I found out. I came home from college for a weekend, expecting the house to feel empty and sad. Instead, it felt different. The furniture had been moved. Dad's office, the room where he'd worked late nights, where I'd done homework at his desk while he reviewed spreadsheets, was now a meditation space, according to Mom. His books were gone. His desk was gone. Even the photos of him on the walls had been replaced with generic art. And there was a man in our kitchen making espresso. He was tall, maybe 6'2", with silver hair swept back from a face that belonged in a cologne ad. Expensive watch, expensive shoes, expensive smile. He looked up when I walked in and didn't seem surprised to see me, which was strange because I hadn't told Mom I was coming. "You must be Sophia," he said, extending a hand. "I'm Vincent Ashford. Your mother's been telling me all about you." The name hit me like cold water. Vincent Ashford. The name Dad had mouthed in court, but I kept my face neutral, shook his hand, felt the firm grip of someone who'd practiced it. "Nice to meet you. How do you know my mom?" "I've been helping her navigate the financial mess your father left behind." He said it casually, like discussing the weather. "Asset protection, debt restructuring, making sure creditors can't seize everything. It's complicated work, but someone had to step in." Mom appeared then, wearing a new dress I'd never seen, her hair styled in a way she never bothered with before. "Vincent's been such a blessing," she said, touching his arm with a familiarity that made my stomach turn. "I don't know what I would have done without him." "How long have you been helping?" I asked, keeping my voice light. Curious, not accusatory. "Oh, a few months now," Vincent said. His eyes were blue and cold despite the warm smile. "I was hired as an external consultant at your father's company. After his arrest, I reached out to your mother to offer guidance. Something about the way he said it felt rehearsed, polished. That night through my bedroom wall I heard Vincent say, 'You need to distance yourself from his reputation. New identity, new life. I'll take care of everything.' Mom's voice small. 'What would I do without you?' 'You'll never have to find out. I'm not going anywhere.' 3 months later, they were engaged. My first prison visit was 2 weeks after the engagement announcement. Federal prison, visiting hours were limited, and I'd had to schedule it weeks in advance. The drive was 3 hours north. The visiting room smelled like industrial cleaner and defeat. Gray floors, gray walls, gray tables bolted to the floor. Everything was designed to prevent comfort. Dad looked like he'd aged 5 years and 6 months. He'd always been slim, but now he was gaunt. His hair had gone gray at the temples. But when he saw me, his face transformed. We picked up the phones on either side of a scratched plexiglass barrier. "Hey, sweetheart," he said, and his voice cracked. I told him about school first, then about Vincent. Dad's face went completely white. "Vincent Ashford? Are you absolutely sure that's his name?" "Yes." "Why?" "You said his name at the sentencing." Dad glanced at the guard, then leaned closer to the glass. "He was hired as an external consultant at my company 2 months before I was arrested. He had access to everything: passwords, accounts, internal networks. Sophia, I think Vincent framed me to get to your mother. She has assets, insurance, the house is in her name. Check the evidence files. Look at IP addresses, authentication logs. Find where the money really went. What if I find out you actually did it?" I had to ask. Dad smiled sadly. "Then at least you'll know the truth. But I didn't do this. Someone did it to me. Your major wasn't an accident. You chose forensic accounting for a reason. Trust your instincts." I drove home thinking about what Dad had said. By the time I pulled into the driveway 3 hours later, I'd made a decision. I was going to investigate this. Vincent's Mercedes was in the driveway when I got home. Mom's car was gone. The house was quiet. I found Vincent in Dad's old armchair, laptop open. He looked up and smiled. "Sophia, how was your visit?" He knew where I'd been. "Educational," I said carefully. "I hope your father's adjusting. 12 years is a long time. But I suppose he'll have plenty of time to reflect on his choices." The way he said it, not sympathetic, but satisfied, made my skin crawl. "He still says he's innocent." "They all do." Vincent stood, walked toward me. "It's a coping mechanism. Denial. What if he's telling the truth?" Vincent's smile didn't waver. Then someone very clever set him up. Someone who understood the system well enough to frame a man perfectly. But that would require access and expertise that very few people have. "Like an external consultant," I said. "Someone hired to audit security." For just a moment, Vincent's mask slipped. I saw calculation behind his eyes. Then the smile returned. "Like an external consultant. Fortunately, I was there to help the company identify the real criminal." I went upstairs, locked my door, created a document titled Capstone Project, Digital Forensics in Corporate Embezzlement Cases. Then I emailed my forensic accounting professor, Dr. Rebecca Chin. I'd like to analyze my father's embezzlement case for my project. Can we meet? Her response came at 2 a.m. My office. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. Bring everything you have. Dr. Rebecca Chen's office was in the oldest building on campus. She was legendary, former FBI financial crimes investigator who'd worked major cases before retiring to teach. She failed half her students because she said forensic accounting required perfection. She looked up when I sat down. Sophia Harrison, top of her class in fraud detection, also the daughter of a man convicted of embezzling $3.2 million. And you want to analyze his case? Yes, ma'am. This is an academic curiosity. This is personal. I'd planned to play it cool. But Dr. Chin had probably seen through better liars. My father says he was framed. I want to know if that's true. Dr. Chin pulled a file from her desk drawer. I pulled the public records from your father's trial. The prosecution's case was solid, but there are irregularities. The emails supposedly sent by your father, they're timed in a way that doesn't match typical CFO behavior. He'd have to be sending embezzlement instructions during board meetings when there's documented proof he was somewhere else. My heart started beating faster. Did his lawyer bring this up? The defense didn't have a competing theory. They just said, my client didn't do it, without explaining who did. Dr. Chin tapped the file. But you have a theory. Who do you think framed your father? I told her about Vincent. The timeline, the access, the engagement, everything. Dr. Chin listened, taking notes. When I finished, she pulled up something on her computer. Let's verify his credentials. 20 minutes of searching turned up exactly what Vincent claimed. But Dr. Chen's frown deepened. This is too clean. No one's history is this perfect. She tried different search strategies, called in a favor to a colleague still at the FBI. An hour later, she leaned back with a strange expression. Vincent Ashford has only existed since 2016. Before that, nothing. No credit history, no tax records, no digital footprint. She turned her monitor toward me. I ran his photo through facial recognition. Got a hit. The image was a mugshot. Same face as Vincent. The name beneath, Vincent Crane. Arrested August 2008 for securities fraud. Convicted. Sentenced to 4 years. Released 2012. After his release, Vincent Crane disappeared, Dr. Chin said. Then in 2016, Vincent Ashford appeared with complete history. He bought or stole a real person's identity. Professional-level identity theft. She pulled up more records. The securities fraud case from 2008, Vincent Crane framed his business partner for embezzling client funds. The partner served 8 years before new evidence came to light. By then, Vincent Crane had disappeared. The pattern was unmistakable. He's done this before. At least once that we know of. Dr. Chin looked at me seriously. Sophia, if Vincent Ashford is Vincent Crane, and if he framed your father, this is extremely dangerous. This man has spent years perfecting his system. So what do? We build a case. A real one. With evidence that will hold up in court. She started pulling books from her shelves. I'll help you. But we do this right. No shortcuts, no confronting Vincent until we have proof so solid he can't talk his way out of it. Dr. Chin handed me textbooks on digital forensics. Read these this week. We're going to tear apart your father's case piece by piece. We find where the money really went. We prove Vincent had the access and opportunity. And we tie him to his real identity. How long will this take? Months. Maybe longer. But your father has 12 years. We have time to get it right. She walked me to her door. One more thing. Don't tell anyone what you're working on. If Vincent suspects you're investigating him, he'll destroy you the same way he destroyed your father. Be smart. Be careful. Document everything. I spent the next 2 weeks buried in textbooks and case files. Dr. Chin showed me how to track digital footprints, read authentication logs, trace wire transfers. Every spare moment, I was working. One breakthrough came on a Tuesday night at 2 a.m. I was reviewing email logs when I noticed something. The emails supposedly sent from Dad's work computer had IP addresses that didn't match the company's network. They came from a VPN service registered to a shell company in Delaware. I traced the VPN service through layers of companies until I found an email address. The format looked familiar. I compared it to Vincent's email. Different names, but the same pattern. Same number structures. It wasn't proof, but it was a connection. I emailed Dr. Chun at 2:30 a.m. She responded at 3. Come to my office tomorrow. I have someone you need to meet. That someone was Marcus Webb, Dad's former IT director. We met at a coffee shop. Marcus was in his 40s. Tired eyes, battered briefcase. When I explained why I wanted to talk, he laughed darkly. I tried to tell him. Nobody wanted to hear it. Tell me, I said. Marcus pulled out a USB drive. Your father was meticulous about security. He'd never send sensitive emails from his work computer. But the jury didn't understand that. Vincent requested elevated access for his security audit. The board approved it. I noticed Vincent accessing systems at odd hours, 11 p.m., 3 a.m. Sundays. When I flagged this, Vincent complained I was obstructing his audit. I backed off. But you kept records, I guessed. I kept copies of everything. Access logs, timestamps. Illegally, probably. But I knew something was wrong. He slid the USB across the table. These are the real logs from the week of the embezzlement. Compare them to what was presented at trial. Dr. Chin plugged the drive into her laptop. Her face went pale. These IP addresses are completely different from the trial evidence. Because someone altered them, Marcus said flatly. The emails supposedly sent by your father? According to these logs, they were sent from IP addresses linked to Vincent's VPN service. But that information never made it to trial because Vincent had administrative access. He could alter logs, delete evidence, plant false records. Why didn't you push harder? I asked. I got laid off 3 months after your father's arrest. Vincent's lawyer sent me a cease and desist, threatening defamation charges. I have 3 kids. I couldn't risk it. Marcus looked at me. I'm sorry. Your father was a good man. Will you testify? I asked. If we can build a case? Marcus was quiet. Then, if you can protect me from Vincent's lawyers? Yes. I'll testify in a heartbeat. There's one more thing, Marcus said. During his audit, Vincent asked me about you. What college you went to, what you were studying, if you were close to your father. At the time, I thought it was conversation. Now I think he was threat assessing. A chill ran down my spine. What did you tell him? That you were studying forensic accounting. That you were smart. That you adored your father. Marcus leaned forward. Be careful. Vincent doesn't leave loose ends. That night, everything changed. I got home around 9 p.m. The house was dark. Mom was working a night shift. I threw my backpack on the couch, headed to the kitchen. That's when I saw it. My laptop was open on the kitchen table. I'd left it closed in my room. The screen showed my capstone project document where I'd been documenting everything about Vincent. Someone had been going through my computer, reading my files. I checked the document properties. Last opened, 7:43 p.m. 40 minutes ago. I'd been at the coffee shop with Marcus and Dr. Chun. Someone had been in the house while I was gone. I ran upstairs. My desk drawers were open. Papers scattered. Someone had searched my room. I drove to campus, went straight to Dr. Chen's office. She locked her door behind me. What happened? I told her. The laptop. The room. Someone was in my house. Vincent. He knows you're investigating. He's trying to figure out how much you know. Dr. Chin started typing. This is escalating. If Vincent is bold enough to break into your house. My phone rang. Mom. I answered with shaking hands. Sophia. Honey, where are you? On campus. Working. Why? Vincent said he stopped by the house earlier to drop off documents and saw your light on, but you weren't there. He was concerned. My stomach dropped. Vincent had called Mom to establish his alibi. I'm fine. Just studying late. I hung up and looked at Dr. Chun. He's covering his tracks, which means he's more dangerous than I thought. Dr. Chun grabbed her coat. You're not going home tonight. Stay with a friend. But don't go back to that house until we have protection. Comment below. Would you trust a professor you barely knew to help investigate your mom's fiancé? Would you go all in like I did, or would you have been more cautious? Because what happened next proved just how dangerous Vincent really was. The next day, things got worse. I tried to access my college fund to pay next semester's tuition. The account was frozen. $15,000 gone. Transferred out 3 days ago. I called Mom at work. Where's my college fund? Long pause. Vincent and I had to move some money around. Legal fees from your father's case. That was my tuition money. I know, but right now, Vincent's voice in the background. Mom came back on. Vincent thinks you need a break from school anyway, to focus on your mental health. You've been so obsessed with your father's case. I hung up. Vincent had convinced Mom to cut off my education funding. Over the next week, it escalated. My car, technically in Mom's name, got repossessed. Mom claimed she had to reduce expenses. But that week, I saw her post about Vincent's new $4,000 watch. My credit cards got canceled. Then Vincent took it further. Campus security called me in for a wellness check. They'd received concerned calls from my mother's fiancé about my mental health. That I was obsessed with my criminal father. That I was harassing former employees. That I might be a danger to myself. I sat in that counseling office while a therapist slid medical leave forms across the desk. Your stepfather-to-be is very concerned. He's not my stepfather. He thinks you need time to process your father's conviction. My father was framed by Vincent, and I can prove it. The counselor's expression shifted to pity. That sounds like a conspiracy theory. It's pattern recognition. It's what I'm trained to do. But I could see she didn't believe me. Vincent had done his job perfectly. Made me look unstable. I called Dr. Chun, panicking. He's trying to force me out of school. He's following a playbook, she said grimly. Isolate the threat. Damage their credibility. Make them look unstable. But Sophia? This means we're close. He's desperate. Desperate people make mistakes. With Dr. Chen's guidance and my roommate Sarah's hacking skills, we spent 3 weeks tracing the embezzled money through layers of shell companies. We created a flowchart on my wall. It looked like a conspiracy board with red string. The money went through Delaware, Cayman Islands, cryptocurrency exchanges, Singapore, finally ending in Swiss accounts. Sarah tracked the cryptocurrency wallet addresses. They were registered to emails with Vincent's patterns. Dr. Chen's FBI contact pulled bank records. The Swiss accounts were linked to a trust managed by someone using Vincent Crane's old tax identification number from before his identity change. We had him. At 3 a.m., Sarah shouted, "Found it." The third shell company, registered to Victoria Ashton. Notice the initials? VA, same as Vincent Ashford. Dr. Chin was cautious. That's pattern, not evidence. We need the smoking gun. The cryptocurrency wallet, I said. Can we trace who withdrew the funds? Sarah was already typing. Withdrawn over 6 months in 2021. Deposited into a Swiss bank account ending in 2847. Dr. Chen's FBI contact had found that account. It was linked to a trust managed using Vincent Crane's real tax identification number. He changed his name, but not his financial identity. That's his mistake. 2 days later, I got served with legal papers. Vincent was suing me for defamation and harassment. $500,000. More money than I'd ever see. I called Dr. Chen, handshaking. He's suing me for $500,000. Good, she said, and I could hear the smile. How is this good? Because desperate people make mistakes. He's trying to scare you. But lawsuits create discovery. He'll have to produce documents, answer questions. He's opening himself to scrutiny. More importantly, he wouldn't do this if we weren't close to something. Dr. Chin set up a meeting with her old FBI supervisor, Agent Michael Torres. We brought Marcus and 3 textbooks worth of evidence organized in binders. For 2 hours, we presented everything. The emails from VPN services that traced to Vincent. The access logs showing Vincent in the system during suspicious transfers. The shell companies with Vincent's email patterns. The Swiss bank accounts tied to Vincent Crane's tax ID. The pattern of previous victims. We'd found 2 more cases in other states. Agent Torres leaned back. This is sophisticated. Multi-state. Multiple victims. This is organized crime-level fraud. Can you arrest him? I asked. We can open an investigation. But it'll take time. We don't have time. He's already coming after me. If we wait, we need to catch him where he can't run, Agent Torres said. Dr. Chin pulled out another file. Vincent had been hired by Dad's former company to help with restructuring. The company was facing bankruptcy from the missing $3.2 million. They were holding an emergency shareholder meeting in 3 weeks. Vincent was scheduled to present a financial recovery plan. Public venue, Dr. Chin said. Shareholders, board members, media. If we present our evidence there, he can't run. He can't hide. There are witnesses. Agent Torres considered it. It's risky. But if your evidence is as solid as you say— It's solid, Dr. Chen said firmly. I've spent 20 years investigating financial crimes. This will hold up. Then we have 3 weeks. Make your presentation airtight. I'll have agents at every exit. The second you present evidence, we move in. The next 3 weeks were intense. We refined every slide, anticipated every counter-argument, practiced until I could present in my sleep. But Vincent escalated too. He pushed Mom to sign power of attorney documents, giving him complete control of her assets. I crashed the signing at the lawyer's office. This gives him everything. I told Mom, your house, savings, pension, even medical decisions. Vincent loves me, Mom insisted. He's taking care of us. Us. He cut off my college fund. Because you're causing problems. You need to accept your father as guilty. Vincent put his hand on Mom's shoulder. Possessive. Your daughter has been making serious accusations she can't prove. I met his eyes. I can prove everything. And I will. Something flickered in his expression. Fear. Then the mask returned. Be very careful with accusations you can't back up. As I left, he walked me out. He leaned close. I've destroyed bigger threats than you. Former FBI agents. Corporate investigators. You're a college student playing detective. Know when you're outmatched. I smiled. My dad told me the truth is always in the details. I've spent 3 months studying the details. You should have been more careful. I saw it again. That flicker of fear. The morning of the shareholder meeting, I put on my interview suit. Sarah picked me up at dawn. Dr. Chen and Marcus met us in the parking lot. We stood looking at the building where Dad's life had fallen apart. Everyone ready? Dr. Chen asked. I was terrified, excited, determined. We walked in carrying laptops and evidence binders and 3 months of work. The boardroom was on the top floor. Glass walls, expensive chairs. The room filled with board members, shareholders, journalists. And Vincent, at the head of the table, confident and comfortable. When we walked in, his eyes found mine. I saw his confusion. What was I doing here? The board chair called the meeting to order. Vincent presented first. For 45 minutes, he walked through a financial recovery plan. Smooth, professional, charming. He was winning them over. When he finished taking questions, I stood up. I have additional information the board should hear. I'm Sophia Harrison, James Harrison's daughter, and I have evidence that my father didn't embezzle anything. That someone else did. Someone in this room. Vincent's smile didn't waver, but his eyes went cold. I don't think. Mr. Chairman, if I could have 15 minutes, Dr. Chen said, standing. I'm Dr. Rebecca Chen, former FBI financial crimes investigator. What we're about to present is relevant to this company's recovery. The chairman hesitated, looked at Vincent. I object to this ambush. If the evidence is as important as Dr. Chen suggests, a board member said, we should hear it. The chairman nodded. 15 minutes. Sarah connected my laptop to the projector. The first slide appeared, a side-by-side comparison. Vincent Ashford's photo next to a mugshot. Vincent Crane. Same face. Same scar above the left eyebrow. The room went silent. Vincent Ashford doesn't exist, I said, voice steady now. This man is Vincent Crane. Convicted of securities fraud in 2008. Sentenced to 4 years. Upon release, he assumed a stolen identity. Vincent stood. This is absurd. I'm being targeted by a delusional girl who can't accept her father's guilt. Facial recognition match is 98.7%. Dr. Chen interrupted. And Mr. Crane's fingerprints are on file from his 2008 conviction. Next slide. The money trail. 3.2 million moving through shell companies, cryptocurrency wallets, Swiss bank accounts. The embezzled funds ended up in accounts controlled by a trust, I said. That trust is managed using Vincent Crane's old tax identification number. This is fabricated, Vincent started. The IP addresses on the emails supposedly sent by my father, Marcus said, standing. They don't match the company network. They match a VPN service registered to one of these shell companies. I have the access logs. The real ones. Slide after slide. Authentication logs. Wire transfer records. The pattern of 6 victims across 3 states. The 2008 conviction details. Vincent Crane framed James Harrison using the same methods he used on his previous partner, Dr. Chen said. He had administrative access to your systems. He altered logs. He planted evidence. And he testified at trial about his own crime. Vincent was no longer calm. His face had gone red. You have no authority. Actually, a voice said from the doorway. Agent Torres stepped in, badge visible. I do. Vincent Crane, you're under arrest for wire fraud, identity theft, conspiracy to commit embezzlement. Vincent bolted, ran toward the side door. 2 FBI agents blocked his path. He spun, looking for another exit. Agents at every door. Trapped. They handcuffed him there in the boardroom, while board members recorded on their phones. Vincent looked at me as they let him past, pure hatred in his eyes. You have no idea what you've done, he snarled. I've done exactly what you taught me. Never trust charming men with perfect stories. See you at trial. After they took Vincent away, the board chairman held up his hand for silence. He looked at Dr. Chun, at me, at the evidence on screen. We need to call James Harrison, he said quietly. Dr. Chun handed him her phone. His lawyer's already on the line. 2 hours later, Dad called from prison. They're letting me out. Emergency release. They're overturning the conviction. I'm coming home. I started crying. I'll pick you up. Just tell me when. Tomorrow morning. First thing. He was crying too. You did it. You actually did it. The next morning, Dr. Chin drove me to the federal prison. We waited in the parking lot. At 9 a.m., the gate opened. Dad walked out in civilian clothes, jeans and a t-shirt that didn't quite fit. He looked different. Older. Grayer. But when he saw me, his face transformed. I ran to him. Hugged him tight. He held me and kept saying, You did it. You actually did it. I had help, I said, nodding to Dr. Chun. Dad hugged her too, thanking her over and over. Marcus showed up to drive us. The drive away from that prison felt surreal. Dad kept touching things. The car window. The door handle. Looking at the sky without bars. We stopped at a grocery store because Dad said he just wanted to walk the aisles. We spent 30 minutes watching him touch oranges and cereal boxes like they were miracles. On the drive home, he asked about Vincent's trial. Agent Torres says 3 months. Vincent tried to flee, which looks terrible. And we have 6 victims ready to testify. Dr. Chun says it's the most airtight case she's ever seen. And the company, they want you back. As CEO, plus a $4.5 million settlement for wrongful imprisonment. Dad was quiet. I don't want revenge. I just want my life back. You're getting both. We got to the house at sunset. Mom's car was gone. Dad stood in the driveway, looking at the home he'd been taken from 18 months ago. Vincent tried to take everything, he said quietly. My job, my freedom, my family. But he didn't get it all. He put his arm around me. He didn't break you. And you saved me. 3 months later, Vincent's trial was quick. With 6 victims testifying, with our evidence, with his prior conviction, the jury deliberated 90 minutes. Guilty on all counts. Sentencing, 25 years for current charges, plus additional time for the 2008 fraud. Total, 35 years. At 45, he'd be 80 when released. At sentencing, Vincent tried to give a speech about being entrapped. The judge cut him off. Mr. Crane, you've destroyed at least 6 families. You've stolen millions. You've sent innocent men to prison. This court has no sympathy. As they led him away, Vincent looked at me one last time. Pure hatred. But I felt nothing except relief. Dad took the CEO position. Used part of his settlement to help Vincent's other victims get exonerated. 5 men across 3 states. 3 have been fully exonerated. 2 more cases are in progress. Mom lost everything. She'd signed power of attorney to Vincent. He transferred most of her assets before his arrest. The FBI recovered about 60%. She lost the house, declared bankruptcy, moved to Ohio. She's working retail now, living in a studio apartment. Dad offered to help her financially. She refused out of pride. They divorced quietly. Some bridges can't be rebuilt. As for me, I graduated top of my class. Got recruited by 3 FBI divisions. Chose financial crimes. Now I investigate cases like Dad's. I've closed 31 cases in 4 years. Found 11 wrongly convicted people. Put away 14 predators. Dad married Dr. Chin 2 years after his release. Marcus became his CFO. Sarah works cybersecurity for Dad's company. We have monthly dinners, the chosen family that took down Vincent Crane. Mom sends Christmas cards. We exchange them. That's the extent of our relationship. Maybe someday we'll rebuild something. Maybe not. Some betrayals cut too deep. Last year, I got a letter from Vincent. Prison mail. You didn't win. I'll be out in 30 years. Still young enough. I wrote back once. By then, I'll have put away dozens more people like you. Thanks for teaching me how to hunt predators. He never wrote again. 2 weeks ago, a new case came across my desk. Another CFO convicted of embezzlement. Another wife who moved on suspiciously fast. Another charming consultant. I read the file, saw the patterns immediately. I picked up the phone. Dr. Chun, we've got another one. Let's bring him home. Because that's what we do now. We fix what Vincent Cranes of the world break. We're the chosen family who saves other families. And we're just getting started. If this story hit you, smash that like button. Subscribe for more stories about people who refuse to give up. Comment below. Would you have investigated for months or confronted Vincent immediately? See you in the next one.